All right, good. All right, practice 5 in Shells. Last day we had to be in Shells. Thought we got a little better today, a little more competitive. Tomorrow will be the first day of pad, so and I told the team sometimes we might look a little soft in Shells because we're not sure how to thud or it's not really live tackle to the ground. So hopefully tomorrow we'll get that taken care of. But we took some steps. And there's a lot of healthy competition, I think, at a lot of spots.
So, Rich, of those steps, I mean, through your years, what's the hardest part of the installation for you, the thing that may take the longest?
Well, the hardest part is, it's not coach speak, is always in the first year. You're still trying to figure out what your guys do best on both sides of the ball, in particular the quarterbacks. The longer you're with them, you're like, okay, this guy does this better. And you want them all to be able to do everything, but inevitably some guys do certain things more than others. It's because they're all new to us, other than a couple guys that were with us at Jack State. We're still kind of valuing what they do best because everybody's got a system, but you still gear it somewhat to the strengths of what your players do. And but we've got time. We got time to sort that out.
Figuring out, through spring and summer and then the first few days, are you figuring out what people do best?
Yeah, I think we're trying to make them do all of our stuff because we'd rather everybody fit into one, certain kind of play sets. But there's so much. Defense, we do a whole bunch. And then offense, there's a whole lot we can do, but inevitably I don't do because, all right, this is who we're going to be this year, and you kind of focus on that. And we have a lot, I guess, put it in a simple way, we have a lot of things that we can do in our offense. Sometimes it look like all they do is run the same play over and over again. I was accused of that. I think last year, the opposing coach said, well, they ran the same play, 28 times. And I'm like, and we'd have run it 28 more if we had it, in that game. So I don't ever worry about having variety for the sake of having variety. But inevitably you want to have answers to situations.
You said you made some steps. What are some things that caught your eye that you liked?
Well, at the end of practice, it was a little bit more competitive when we went team. We kept score. And I know all these guys play video games and all that, so we kind of kept score in practice in our 7-on-7 and our team stuff. Like, the offense won the play, they got a point. If defense won the play, they got a point. If it was a turnover, defense got 3. If the offense scored a touchdown, they got 3. And then it usually winds up, you hope, as a head coach, being pretty close, which it did. And then so being within 1 point, we had to end it with the big fat guys doing one-on-one in the goal line. White O-lineman running around. I call them fat, but that's a term of endearment. So don't get all uppity. They call them names. They like that. But anyway, yeah, so we did one-on-one with them, the O-lineman running routes, goal line routes, it took quite a bit of time, for them to get there, even on the 2-yard line. And the D-line was guarding them, press man. And surprisingly, we had 2 O-linemen made like big-time Sports Center highlight type of catches to win the day. So the defense had to do push-ups afterwards. So the offensive guys are probably happy.
So when we were out there the other day watching practice, Jalen Henderson, he looked in better shape, a little slimmer than what we saw him in spring. I don't know if that's accurate or not. Is that in all accurate? What's your thoughts on his progression?
Yeah, I had to look at his weights. He looked kind of the same to me, but again, I haven't seen him. But yeah, I don't know. He may have dropped a little bit. I think he's in pretty good shape. All of our quarterbacks are running pretty good. I think they're all in pretty good shape, and that's going to be the hardest thing to sort out because not that you don't have enough. We got plenty of guys that are, I think, able to play, and it's just hard. Like, you can play 2 receivers at a time, right? 2 tight ends at a time. You can play 2 running backs at a time, even 3. It's hard to play 2 quarterbacks at a time. It is, and when you got to get 5 guys reps. So I think Rhett's done a good job of managing them, and the days in pads. As I think I mentioned earlier to y'all, we'll probably be more live with our quarterbacks than I've ever been in training camp, just simply because we've got to find out, who could do what.
In terms of Jalen, though, has he looked any different to you from spring? Because he was coming off an injury-plagued year.
Yeah, I thought thought he looked good in the spring health wise. They all are supposed to be. Yeah, I think it's a little bit. The guys that were here in the spring, I think have a little bit of edge from that. But I'm thinking that they were. Say Scotty was here in the spring. Obviously, Nico was here. Jalen, Max, and so the only one that didn't really rep through the spring was Khalil Wilkins, and he's done a really good job of catching up. He's probably a little behind because he didn't rep in the spring from a scheme standpoint, but he's a sharp guy, and he's had some good days. So, like I said, that's a job. Rhett and Pat and myself and Travis, we'll probably be talking about these guys every day and what the rotation is, and to give them all a chance, we're not. We're rolling them all in there and see where they're at. But you can see, Jalen's got a little bit of experience. You could tell that Nico's got some experience because he's quicker to grasp things because he's played football and he's a sharp guy. So I think, again, it's all new, and I got to sometimes forget that they're all like a freshman in this system. And so we'll be patient to some degree, but I always like yelling at quarterbacks anyway. It's like, what hobbies do you have? It's not working in the garden, right? You know that. So it's yelling at quarterbacks. That's my.
Just as good about that position.
What's that?
Quarterback, you still.
Yeah. I just when we make some egregious mistakes where you hold on to the ball and throw it late and get picked, those are the kind of things that we'll fix. But I don't see too many of those.
Is live with quarterbacks fully tackling to the ground?
Yeah. When we go live. Now that won't be them. They won't be live all the time, but they will be live more than I've ever had quarterbacks live in camp before. And again, I'll probably tell you it was a lesson learned last year too, and maybe even a lesson learned throughout the years. But you got to be careful. We got to be smart about it. And I'll tell our players, like, people go, you get live. We don't cut tackle each other. Like cut down below the knees. We don't cut block, chop block each other. We don't take a blow-up shot. There might be a thing that could be a perfectly legal hit, and when you're going to knock the ball out and, blow-up shot, we don't do that. So you got to almost teach your guys how to be physical and live without being, a stupid teammate kind of deal.
Is that why you do so much team? To see the decision-making, how the quarterbacks?
One reason. And another reason was we talked about yesterday, the Kelvin Sampson quote. If you want to learn how to play football, play football. You know what I mean? In this sport, when there's 11 moving parts, all the individual stuff is good. The fundamental part is good, but it's played with 11 on 11.
Would it be fair to say that when you are in pads tomorrow and you do go live, that's when you probably expect to learn the most about the quarterback so far?
I do, no question. When we go live, I think you find out more about everybody. Who's going to finish a run, who can really tackle to the ground. Can you sustain a block? I'm kind of excited for it. I think players are too. We don't go live every day. And I'm not one to we're done doing a Junction Boys thing and wearing them out and, going live and doing bull in the ring for 2 hours. Remember that drill? He had, just beat the hell out of each other, And you can't even do like the Oklahoma drill anymore, where you just like one-on-ones and tackle. And that was actually not a bad drill, but you can't even do that. But that's okay because you got to play football. And we'll, part of my meeting tonight will be learning our guys how to play good, hard, physical football, but not being stupid or silly with it.
Last week that when the pads come on, you'll start to get more into special teams a little bit. How has special teams changed, would you say, over the last 20 years or so? And do you look and do you formulate your special teams differently now than maybe you did, say, when you first got here?
Well, like everything else in football, I think the biggest difference in special teams now that it's more complicated, if that's the word. They're like the punt teams. You used to be everybody in tight, and they did the NFL kind of punt and gap protected, and they punted the ball. And now, we were going spread back in the day, but everybody does spread formations in a punt and unbalanced formations and different tempos and I don't think kickoff return has changed too much. We fair catch a lot. It's hard. These kickers nowadays kick most of them out anyway. But punt blocks has become more complicated. Punt has become a lot more complicated. field goal the same. I think specialists are, seem like they're getting better and better every year too. I mean, you're getting punters that, it's not just the Australian guys that, they're able to punt and roll punt and do all kinds of unique stuff. So it's I think we have to make make sure all the fancy stuff you could do now, you still want to try to keep it as simple as you can.
Has your philosophy of maybe like who plays on special teams, has that changed at all?
No, I've always been one that and again, we could have more than one guy that's considered a starter. But say there's a guy that's truly a backup, and he might be getting 10 or 15 plays in at that position. I'd rather have him, on a starting special teams unit than the guy in front of him, unless that guy in front of him is just a superb, guy like a return guy or something that you got to have on there. Because I like playing a lot of people, and that's an opportunity for some of the guys that maybe ain't playing 50 plays to get 10 to 12, 15 snaps in the game. So I know everybody says, well, you put your best guys on special teams and, at returner and some of that stuff you do. But me, I like having guys that maybe have been in a backup role, being a starter on a special team.
Your time here, you were known for your offense, but you had some pretty good defenses. Where does defense fall into your coaching realm?
What was the question?
Where does the defensive philosophy fall into your coaching realm?
Yeah, I mean, I started off, I played defense here, and so I started off my first couple years as a coach on defense, and then when I became head coach at Glen was when I flipped over and started saying, hey, let's run a 2-minute drill the whole game. But I've always kind of been like, I guess maybe defensive mentality from the standpoint, like a lot of people, I don't say a lot of people, some people that are spread, shotgun type oriented are like, just give me the ball back and I don't care what you do, where I'm in tune with everything we're doing on defense. I love, what Zach does on defense, but I trust him, so I don't have to get in his room, but I'll still get in his room and I'll still watch film and I'll still coach guys on defense every part, because I just, I think I like that part of it. I like the whole schematic part of offense, defense, and special teams. But you're right. When we had really good teams here, or if I had good teams everywhere else, we were pretty good on offense, but we were really good on defense. I was here. Our defense was unique. I liked being different. We were different with the odd stack, and Coach Castile was here, and I thought that made us, better. And Zach is different. Zach is completely different than a lot of folks what he does, and I like being different. But you got to be able to coach it, and you got to have obviously great players. Like if I had to say, you had a great offensive lineman and a great defensive lineman, I want both. Or you can only take one. Give me that great defensive lineman first. You know what I mean? Or you could have a great wide out and a great corner to lock down, shut down guy. Which one you take? Well, I might want that wide out, but man, give me that corner. You know what I mean? So if they don't score, we're not going to lose, right? Put the pressure on Zach. Bob, tell him that. Coach says if you shut him out, you're going to win every game. Yeah, that's good.
Outside of quarterback, what's the hardest position to master on your offense?
Outside of quarterback, typically you would say center, but our schemes aren't that complicated, so I wouldn't say center. I'd say the guy that has the most variety of things to do, which is probably perfect timing because I think you're talking to him today, is tight ends. Isn't that you having Coach Nicewater? Oh, he's not today. Is it tight ends? Because what we do with our tight ends now, 11 personnel, he's got to block with the strength and the power of an offensive lineman. He's got to be able to run routes in space like a wide receiver, and that's the guy that lines up all over the place for us. So I think the tight ends probably have the most to learn position-wise other than the quarterback.
Did you get any running backs back today?
No. Hoping that we might get one guy, and we're still working on maybe one or two coming in. So
I don't know if you know this, but your 4 guys you're waiting on waivers.
Yeah, we are waiting on 4 guys.
They filed a lawsuit.
Our guys did?
They tried to get an injunction, which I think you mentioned. Saturday? I know you all don't have anything to do about that.
Outstanding.
Yeah, I was gonna say to actually be at this state is one thing, but I mean now you are here. You may get him back if they get an injunction. I don't know, but like
Yeah, I'm hopeful. You know, those guys have been around. They got to work out on their own, and obviously they can help our program. And I know they've got attorneys, and we'll see where that goes.
Can they sit in meetings?
What's that?
Can they sit in meetings with the team?
No, they can't. They can do everything on their own. Now they can come by the building. We don't have to throw them out, but they're truly on their own, which is, geez, you know, we're a week into camp. You know what I mean? But I think, you know, the sooner we know something, the better. But we don't control that deal.
When you recruited him, did you think it would take this long to get?
No,
the
I did
waiver?
not. Yeah, but that.
'Cause we're
Again,
seeing approvals from other guys around the
yeah,
country.
and I don't know how long those other guys had things, and that's the frustrating part. You all know when something involved in the court or the process, it usually it's like, God, what's taking so long? But we may not be the only ones, or they may not be the only ones that are trying to, find out what the deal is.